Welcome to yet another special Beyond Intent podcast. And as always, presented by Manifest Beast, we have a special episode today because it is our first. That's right, it's our first. We didn't even expect it to happen, but it happened. Our first video podcast. And I'm joined by my two co-hosts, TJ and Adrian. How you guys doing today?
Doing good. Seeing the gray in my beard, nice and bright. Otherwise, I'm doing well. I'm excited.
Yeah. Awesome.
In 2022, it's a new year.
Yes,
it is. Let's get it in.
We got a new saying. It's a new year. I love it. Well, we are the podcast that stays dropping jewels and bringing you the realest guests. And speaking of guests, our guest today, let me make sure I don't mess this up because you got a lot of awesome stuff going on. But you are a copyright coach, a consultant, and an entrepreneur. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Well, Carlos Redlich, how you doing?
How you doing, man? I really appreciate you guys having me on the show. It's an honor. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, we're happy to have you.
Definitely. So,
TJ, why don't you start us off?
Yep. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, the journey that you're on going into 2022, and everything on the top of your mind.
Gotcha. Okay, so, well, I guess I'll start with just a very, very brief background of like where I started real quick, and then kind of talk into like what I'm doing now, if that's cool. So I started out as a martial art instructor when I was about 20. I'm 35 in a few weeks. So when I was about 24, 25 years old, I started a martial arts school with my friend Vit in Jacksonville, Florida. We ended up having a couple martial arts schools, and that was really cool. It was very fun. I loved having it felt like a big family because we would all work out together. We would train together. I would have barbecue. It was just awesome. I loved having a brick and mortar space. But one thing I didn't like is having to pay 10 grand a month in rent. And when I discovered the internet, I realized that you can write advertising for different companies, hand it in like a Google document, and get paid, a nice, healthy amount of money just doing that. So after doing that for a few months, I realized that I was making more money doing this copywriting thing. Put in perspective, I was spending 10 grand a month in rent for the gym, but I had made over 100 grand in like 6 months just writing stuff for my laptop and my boxers in my old apartment. And so when I had that happen, I was like, there's no reason for me to keep paying rent because I'm paying 10 grand a month. It's like, there's no point. I can just make more money and do stuff for my apartment at the time, right? So that kind of led me down the path of doing this copywriting thing. And after a while, I ended up discovering how to get clients, because if you're a copywriter, just like a lot of different businesses, you have to figure out how to get clients, how to get leads and all that stuff. And I was banging my head against the wall because the only way I knew how to get clients was to scour Facebook groups and comment on posts and cross my fingers that people would pay me. And that wasn't very reliable. So eventually I started shifting over to doing stuff with paid marketing and paid advertising. So I'd put ads on YouTube and Facebook and things like that. I would spend $20, $50 a day or something. And then I would make people or have people watch my content, kind of like what I'm going to do with this video. I'm going to put ads behind it eventually. And then people would watch my stuff, book a call with me. And then since they would already have some kind of familiarity with who I was, it was easier to close them on working with me for higher ticket prices. So that kind of got me down a path of I'm closing a bunch of deals, but now I can't fulfill on it because it's just me. I don't know what to do. So I started coaching different copywriters because I needed people to not necessarily be on my team exclusively, but I needed people to help me with copy because I was closing deals. I was closing retainer deals for 5, 10 grand a month, but I just couldn't handle the workload. It was just getting ridiculous. So I started a mentorship group, started coaching copywriters, started showing them exactly what I do to get clients because it's not very difficult. But what that did is it got me, I guess right now we have 160 people in our group. So 160 different copywriters that now I can kind of pick and choose from and refer work out to them. So if I have clients paying me 10 grand a month for a set amount of emails and sales pages, things like that, well, now I'm not the only one who has to write that. I can now kind of get help from other copywriters. So taking that into 2022, my big focus now is really trying to pump up our mentorship, because we have already steady retainer clients for our copywriting deals. But the thing that's scalable and more fun for me is doing the copywriting coaching, but not necessarily teaching people how to write a headline, although we can do that. It's more on the how to grow your copywriting business, how to get deals, how to upgrade clients into higher ticket packages, and things like that. So that's really where I'm kind of focusing on 2022.
Awesome. So I'll play off of that. I'm very deeply into the copywriting biz because we do that for our photography company. I've done it in marketing, for people in the past. I just haven't ever, jumped off that ledge as far as, the time that takes, because you really, like you said it perfectly, you take, at a certain point, you're outweighed by the clients in time able to be spent. When you first came into this, we're talking that you've got a brick and mortar, you're working your butt off. Can we go back a little bit further? What I guess woke up that entrepreneurial side of you, as far as, because that started somewhere, and I like to kind of trace back because that allows me to see the path.
Yeah, that's a really cool question. So we'll take it back a little bit more then. Not too far back, but only to a little bit. So when I was like 20 or 21 years old, I was still training at my original martial arts school with my instructors, Dwight Woods. And so he's in Miami. That's where I'm from. I grew up there, all this stuff. So he's in Miami, Florida, still teaching and doing amazing. I love the guy. Anyways, I was very self-conscious. I couldn't speak without stumbling over my words. If someone were coming to the martial arts school, although I was like really good at punching and kicking and elbowing and all that stuff, as soon as somebody said, "Hey, how much do you charge for this like martial arts stuff?" my face would drench in sweat. I would start shaking for no reason. It was like ridiculous. I was like all tough, but I couldn't speak, so I wasn't really tough. I was soft as hell. So it was silly. And my instructor was like, "This is really weird because like you're really good at like the kicking and punching. So it's not like you don't know this stuff. You know the history, you know how to do it. But for some reason, when someone approaches you and just opens their mouth, you immediately shut down. And that's not really a good leader. So we got to fix that." And so we did a lot of training, he and I, on like sales and how to speak with people and all this stuff. But none of it was working. And almost as a last ditch effort, he was like, "All right, you're very introverted. You don't like know how to speak to people." He was saying this very politely, but he's like, "You're really bad at this stuff. So let's try this thing called copywriting, because what that's going to do, it's salesmanship in print. So if you can learn how to write persuasively and learn how to write your thoughts out, maybe that'll connect and somehow you'll be able to like speak it better. Because if you get good at writing it, maybe you'll be able to speak it." And that's actually what ended up happening. So in the beginning, I was using copywriting more as a self-development tool. I didn't even think about writing copy for other people or starting my own business. I was just a 20-year-old kid, and I just used it to just become a better person. Yep. But I started realizing that as I was writing my fake copy, trying to like get my thoughts out, one of the things that I was writing was like my lesson plans on how I was going to teach my students and what to do. Because one thing that Dwight really instilled in me is that we're still selling from the stage as a martial art instructor, because what we're doing is we're making sure that our students come back the next month and keep paying us every single month so that they can keep training. If we do a really terrible job, we may feel cool because we demonstrated some cool shit, but they may not feel cool, so they're going to leave. So we're always selling from the stage, making sure our customers and our students come back. That was kind of when I kind of started getting that and really mastering being able to like teach martial art and all that, it started getting some thoughts into my head of like, well, what if I could like have my own school? What if I could do, because all I know is martial art. That's all I've been doing for like since I was like 10 years old. So I really know nothing. I got F's in school. I was kicked out of high school. This is like it, right? So maybe I should just do this. And my buddy Vit and I ended up by the time I was 25. So that was like at 20 when I started really kind of getting what I call like my business training, because although it was started with martial art, I was learning how to coach people. I was learning how to enroll students, how to deal with email marketing. Like I was learning business, but in my mind, it was all about martial art. Anyways, when I was 25, that's when we ended up starting our martial arts school. And that was kind of the big leap for me to being an entrepreneur. It was like, well, I don't know. I'm like 25. I got to start doing something and I can't get a job. What am I going to, I don't want to work for $10 an hour. I'm just going to try this shit out and see what happens. So that was kind of my first big leap. And we borrowed a bunch of money. We borrowed like 15 grand from a friend. We did a bunch of shit, man, just trying to make it work. And that was kind of my first like jump into it. And that was a great experience. Nothing teaches you business like a brick and mortar business.
No, exactly. Well, but even more, and sorry, Adrian, I know you got your question ready and raring to go, but I tie in closely to the got kicked out of high school. I was in foster care. I was poor as all get up. Like, my background is muddled, and I was supposed to be a failure. And it kind of attached to awkwardness, right? That awkwardness that because you're always kind of looking around like everybody is wondering if I'm going to become anything. They think I'm worthless. So you start to kind of get in your head and you're like, I can't engage with people and I can't move forward. But once, I feel like that's one of those paths that your brain makes, that once it makes, if you're a kid that grew up like that, man, like you can just take over the world. Like, once you like make that connection. Am I right? Like,
yeah, so it's I didn't go through foster care or any of that stuff. So I didn't have like this crazy rough life. I just had some bad mistakes that I made and stuff. But I do remember I didn't even think about this until you started talking, and it just came to my head, and I won't mention his name, but I had my little crew of friends that we all came up together and stuff. They all became professional criminals for a certain period of time. Like, they said, we're just going to rob people and be stick-up kids, and that's it. That's what we're going to do. And so they would go rob people on the parks by our house. They would go rob home invasions. And I remember making this like decision in my head of like, I think I should either do like martial arts or like just start robbing people. I don't really know, and I don't want to go to prison and shit. But it didn't. And it's not like I couldn't go get a job, but it was all of my friends were pumped. Like, this was like their new business venture. It's not like we're gonna, like, they were pumped. They were like, this is what we're gonna do, and this is it. And they did.
It's entrepreneurship. I mean, that's entrepreneurship.
I remember thinking, I'm like, I need $20 to take my ex-girlfriend at the time to a movie. And so let's go hit the park and see if we can get some people for $20. And I remember thinking that, and I'm like, God, this is so desperate. This is so bad. And that was like one of the times in my mind I switched. I'm like, am I really going to become this person who's robbing people in a park for $20 to go to a movie? I can't. I mean, what am I doing? I may as well go into debt trying to start a martial arts school, because at the end of the day, I'm going to be broke either way. Let's try the positive route. So I didn't even think about it. That just glanced over my head. But when you started talking about it, I'm like, it's so funny. I didn't even. Anyways, that's.
But no, but that comes with that side of like, I don't know how to engage in a positive way, right? Like I only know what I know, and that's all I can do. But sorry, jumping in there, Adrian. Go ahead.
No, and it also goes to who you know. I mean, if you didn't have your martial arts instructor, ain't no telling where you would be right now. Maybe you will be, grabbing ankles. So and how much influence did he have in you coming out of your shell? As far as because you said you're an introvert. I am as well. I know these two would do everything they can to pull me out of my shell. Yeah, and sometimes it's like pulling teeth out of a lion, but I know sometimes it. You know what I'm saying? You said your instructor like, yo, you ain't good at this, but let's try a different route.
Yeah.
How much does that mean to you that someone took their time to be like, you ain't good at this, but I'm gonna help you with this?
Well, he did say stuff. He's still alive, so it's not like he wasn't. He still is a really good guy. But there's little things like he would say stuff when I was there talking about me that would make me feel good. And now looking back, I feel like he just kind of knew how to like make me work harder. But he would say stuff like, because he knew me all my life. He was like a father figure to me. So he knew me since I was like 10 or something. You know what I mean? And until now. So he said he's seen like all these different like things in my life and what I was doing, and he knew what I was gonna do. He's like, you should not be a professional criminal. Like, do you really think that's a good business path? Like, are you fucking kidding me? He's like, you're gonna do it, go do it. But what are you thinking? And anyways, he did tell me some stuff, like, or not even to me, he would tell this guy John, he was like, Carlos at one point was not pure, but there's something in him now that he's pure, and that made me want to be pure. That made me want to be a good person. And it was not like, oh, he's he's not pure. We got to try and get him out of this. And it was none of that. He was like, he was this, and now he's like, he's a pure guy. He just doesn't know what to do. And he said it in front of me, but talking to someone else. And it's like, it made me want to be that good person. So the little things like that, I think, helped. But him just being there and telling, and him not actually being my father. Sometimes you listen to people who are not your actual blood relatives better. So he was a good.
I've got 3 sons, so I know that all too well. Don't listen to a damn thing I say.
It's true. So that was nice, man. I mean, he definitely helped me out in that sense, but it was more just being there and talking to me and not necessarily making it difficult for me to tell him all the things that I was considering doing that may not have been good. He judged me for it, but he didn't say, don't fucking do that. He's like, I mean, if you're going to do it, understand there's like a prison sentence, there's this. He's like, just know what's going on and then make the decision. And I was like, well, obviously now I don't want to make the decision because it basically means I'm an idiot. So I'm not going to do that, right? So I don't know if that answers the question, but him just kind of being there and pushing me out of my comfort zone to teach in front of the school and talk to people and all that stuff. Just going through the uncomfort is what made me more comfortable with it.
Right. Exactly. Now, Carlos, switching directions just a little bit. Now, you've written 2 books on entrepreneurship and copywriting.
Yep.
Talk to us a little bit about the process of how that came about. I know there's thousands of authors out there who have never finished a book. Go through the process of going to get 2 books, and I guess just how you got to doing that.
So it was because I needed to manufacture credibility. Nobody knew who I was, and nobody was going to just listen to me because I said I can do this stuff. So I was trying to think of like, how can I make people respect me because they don't know me? And people respect authors, whether it was a book that was sold 1,000 times or 1 time. The fact that you got a book or multiple books nowadays makes it a lot easier for you to be an expert. And so what I did for my first book, it was actually very simple. It was probably like, I don't know, maybe like 30 pages of like, here's some formulas on how to do this, how to do that, how to do whatever. And then the other half of the book was a bunch of my old sales pages and copy that I wrote. So essentially swipe files. But the reason I did that was because then people would see my samples and possibly hire me. So it's like the proof is in the pudding. I have a book with the samples in there. And so when people would say, hey, do you have any samples? I would just send them a digital copy of my book. Or if they were local to me, I would literally drop it off at their office. So that way they'd have my samples. And then it's like, who just gives you a book for samples? Very few people. So for me, that was something that I needed to do to differentiate myself. And then the second one, same thing. I actually heard my buddy Bond Halbert say, what's better than 1 book? 2 books. That makes you more of an expert. I was like, all right. So I guess I got to do 2 books. And so I learned from my friend and my old client, Ryan Stewman. He said that for his books, what he did is he basically interviewed himself. So I did the same thing. I listed out like 100 questions, broke them up into these 10 or 20 questions are going to be for chapter 1. This can be for whatever. And then I downloaded the Rev app on my phone and I interviewed myself. A Rev app it's a transcription service, so you can talk into the app and it'll transcribe everything for like $1 a minute or less. I think I don't even remember. But I did that. And I interviewed myself, and then that was like the guts of my book. It took 6 days, something like that. Not long at all. And then I transcribed it, and so all of the written stuff was done, which usually takes a big chunk of the work. And now I just cleaned up the ums and ahs and cut some shit out. And now I had like a nice solid book, and it was done in a week. And so I was like, good, boom, there's another little like add to my resume, so to speak.
I love that he said that. I love that he said that though, because how many times have I said like the biggest mistake that people make is I was talking to a buddy the other night. We play video games together, and I said, hey, I want to know, are you trying to start a business? Are you trying to, do something? Because he's going through some rough times. And I was just like, giving him all these ideas, throwing all this stuff out at him, and he just looked at me not physically looked at you, but you know what I mean? You could tell he like took that moment, and then he was like, no, this is why I can't do it. Yeah. And that's something that's very, very, I think, vital for me as I'm moving forward. I don't know about you, but I love educating people in the sense of you may not have started a business, but you could start one today and tomorrow be speaking to customers. It's not that difficult. So now, playing off of that, what do you kind of share in that goal at a higher level, of course, with the copywriters? But do you find that that's something that you want to move more towards focusing on in 2022, making sure that more people understand that it's not impossible to start overnight and get something going?
Yeah, I think so. To answer your question, yeah, that is where I'm focusing more into, is helping copywriters, again, not necessarily learn copy, but learn how to build the business of copy. Yep. The thing that I found, whether you're a copywriter or a web designer, it doesn't really matter. Anything you do in entrepreneurship, like a martial arts school owner, your best like medicine or your best deal for yourself is getting your first deal. Like that's the best thing you can do for yourself. If you close $100 deal, it's not life changing, but what it does, it proves that you can do this, and it shows that, okay, this is like proof of concept. I can actually make money from my laptop. It was $100, but what if I got like 1,000 of those, or what if I got 10,000 of those, or now your mind starts thinking of how it can work versus like, oh, I don't know if it can work, because most people, if they haven't seen the thing work in front of them, they don't believe it. It's like aliens. Like, you haven't seen an alien, so most people are like, yeah, I kind of believe in it, but I don't really know if I believe in it because I haven't seen it. They have to see it, you have to feel it in order to really believe it in most cases. And that same thing in entrepreneurship. I always try to push people to get their fastest win. It could be a small win, doesn't matter. Like, if you're a copywriter and you have zero experience, go do some free stuff for somebody in a Facebook group and then tell them, hey, if you like it, pay me $100 afterwards. If you don't like it, don't pay me anything. That's not going to get you rich. It's not going to get you the best clients in the world, but it's going to get your mind into that hustler mode of how do I make money online, or whatever your path is. You just got to stack wins on top of each other. Little wins add up. I play a lot of poker, and one of the things that I love is, I always have this saying, is that small pots matter, right? So like, people talk about like trying to win this huge monster stack in the big pot in the middle, but like, those $20 or $30 or $50 pots add up. You just need to stack those wins up. By the end of the night, you might have $1,000, right? Yeah. So you got to be able to stack wins, not always look for that big baseball like run hit.
Yep.
That's important. That's important because that's funny. Me and TJ were actually just talking about that. About the mindset is always, you have to get the big win, and that's what makes you successful. But building a wall, it's brick by brick.
Right? So, Will Smith said that shit.
Exactly. I love that. Catch on to it. Exactly.
Yeah.
So to hear that was awesome.
Also, like, it's the same way like within mixed martial arts. If you had two fighters and one got weak legs, but they got a powerful upper body, you ain't gonna go blow for blow. You're gonna chop at the legs, and as you chop at the legs, it's gonna fall down eventually.
Yep. And
it's all about, like you say, stacking the wins up, stacking every little bit is something. Yeah. And it's also about not making excuses. TJ, I remember you posted that up the other day on Facebook about excuses will later become regret.
Yep. That's the baby. That's the baby.
And another thing, and Dre, is excuses are monuments of nothingness. So we just cut out the excuses and just embrace the uncomfortable, because you can't grow unless you get uncomfortable.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, I'm just
got to stay in mode. Just like what you're saying, that kicking to the legs thing, I love that. I relate it to, it's the same thing, and I won't beat the dead horse, but it's like jabbing, right? Like, you can't just, if you box, right, you can't just keep doing these big wild haymaking right punches and shit. It's just not going to work, right? You got to set it up a little, throw some jabs. Those little jabs add up to
you're dialing in distance, you're dialing in their reach, you're dialing in everything in that situation. That jab may do absolutely nothing to them other than everything for you, in the sense of how far away are they going to stand when I throw this punch. Everything is a play, and I wish more people just understood that about entrepreneurship too, because it really is. You've got to do it to know it, and without doing it, you're stuck.
Yeah, but it's also making the decision to do it. I think sometimes people are 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and it's kind of like, if you're gonna do it, like, you should do it. You shouldn't half-ass it. Like, you can't like jump into the ring only half trained. You can't jump into the casino you can, but you're just gonna get fucked. You're gonna lose. You can't, after barely learning how to play poker, because then people are gonna like eat you alive. You can't jump into shit half-ass and expect a win. So if you're gonna do it, surround yourself with the right people, because you will get hit in the face, but they can hold you back and bring you back up, because we've all been hit in the face. It's easier to get up when you have other people around you, but you just got to jump in all the way, right? You got to give it your best effort. And I used to be scared of doing that. So I actually understand where that comes from, not wanting to give it your best effort, because I started at one point a martial art video training thing that flopped. It was horrible. I think I went like almost $7 or $8 grand in debt, which was a ton of money for a young 20-year-old at the time. And I was just gun shy, because I was so scared of like putting myself out there again and going all out and losing. And so everything I had done for like 2 or 3 years after that, until the martial arts school like started making some money. Anyways, it was very gun shy. I wasn't fully in there. I was always scared of like what could go wrong. And so I was patting myself, saying, I'm not going to go all the way in, because if it fucks up, you know, at least I'll try, but I'm not going to get totally damaged. And it's actually not the best approach, because you're never giving it your 100%. Just because you give something your 100% doesn't mean it's not going to fail. It could absolutely fail, but it will 100% fail if you don't give it your 100%. Or just give it a shot.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
And having those people around, like how you guys are there for each other, I think that's super important. If you don't have that, it's very hard to get up, because you will get hit. It's not like it doesn't happen. Like I write emails every day to my list, and like only 1 or 2 of them make money. Like out of like the 6 that I write, the others like sometimes go to spam. Sometimes they get clicks but no buys. You know what I mean? But that shit happens. You just got to keep it moving.
Play the numbers.
Right. One of the things I read a clip of your copywriting book, and you talked about like all the cold calls that you make.
Right.
I think say like 600 calls, and out of those 600 or 100, you may get like 4 or 5 leads.
Yeah, we used to do that. Was actually how I started. So before we did paid ads, I wish I had pictures. Maybe I have pictures. I'll have to find. On the second story of our martial arts school, myself, my girlfriend Tiffany, and my friend Mike, we all actually work together. Mike is actually now my sales manager, who manages our sales team to do all the calls. And we started when we were broken on food stamps on the second floor of my gym back in the day. So it's actually kind of cool. But well, that's what we used to do. We used to just call. We used to get a list of a free list from what was it, salesgenie.com. I can't remember. This was like over 5 years ago, but I think it was salesgenie.com.
Back in the golden days.
I would download a list of business owners in the United States that did not have a website, because you could mark that did not have a website, but had like 5 employees or more. And I did that because I was like, well, if they have 5 employees, they have to have some kind of funds or some kind of business, right? I mean, but they don't have a website, so maybe I can try and sell them a website, because I wasn't selling copywriting like as copywriting back then, because nobody knows what copywriting is unless you're in the marketing world. What they think is copywriting a trademark. So to avoid that entire conversation, I was just selling websites. And then I was writing copy for the websites and all that stuff. And we would have someone in India back in the day fulfill the website for like $100 or some shit. And so our business model is we would all get a list of 150 to 200 leads every single day. And we would call them up, and we would get 4 to 6 appointments for every single one of those 150 calls. And out of the 6 appointments, we'd close like 1 or 2, if we're lucky, on like a $500 to $1,000 deal. So it's not like we were closing big ticket deals here, right? It was just a lot of grunt work and manual labor. But that was one of the things that allowed us to get over the trouble of selling people. Like most people don't like dealing with rejection. Nobody likes dealing with rejection, but we just got so used to it. Like I just started having fun with it. So when we would cold call people, it would be like, I would say my little thing, and they would say, fuck you. And I would say, listen, I would say fuck you if someone cold called me too out of the blue. But the only reason I'm doing that is because I saw an opportunity for you to be able to make some extra cash at no extra risk to you. And I just want to earn 15 minutes of your time to try and earn your business. Is that okay? And then sometimes it would flip them and they'd say, yeah, because I would say, listen, I would say fuck you too if someone cold called. And I would just go right. I would just agree with it. I would say, yeah, bro, that makes complete sense. Here's why I'm doing it, because I still need to talk to you. So that ability to kind of overcome those like initial fuck you boo and overcome all that made me a lot stronger of a salesperson and communicator whenever it came to closing deals with people who actually wanted to work with us. When we started running ads on Facebook and YouTube, and they came to us, they knew who we were. the closing, it just became a lot easier because we were used to dealing with business owners who didn't know who we were, who didn't even know if they wanted a website. We had to sell them on like 3 different things: who we were, the website, and then actually getting the money.
Yep.
Right? So that is what we did back in the day. It's funny that you brought that up. We used to do 150 cold calls a day. Oh. That's how we started.
I was a bill collector for a little bit. At cold calling kills me. Cold calling kills me.
Right.
It's funny though. I mean, I don't do it now, but I think if I was completely broke, if I like needed to make $5,000 by the end of the week or some shit like that, let's say I didn't have my current network, because now I can just go to my network because we built it up. So now I can just go to my network. I can always make money, right? Anyone can do that, because once you're in the game and you surround yourself with good people, it's very hard to not continue to make money. But let's say I had no network, no nothing. I would, and I didn't have money to spend on Facebook ads. The first thing I would do is hang out in little Facebook groups and try and scour that and try and pick up any deals I can for free in those Facebook groups, because it's just sitting. Right. People are always commenting, I need help with X, Y, and Z. So I would just respond to them. But the next thing I would do is I would 100% just cold call every single business owner in my area, because I know that I can set appointments to do an in-person meeting and walk in and try and close them. It's not the most sexy approach. It's not the most high-level marketing thing. But if I'm desperate and I need money and my family needs to eat, I'm going to do the Facebook thing because it's going to be fast. And then I'm going to bust my ass and do these phone calls every day to meet people in person, because then I have a higher chance of closing, because I can just walk into their gym or their office or whatever and say, hey, we just spoke, and try to close them.
Yeah. Exactly. Carlos, I think what I like most about your story is the progression of kind of where you started and where you are now. And, reading your bio and seeing that you worked with, 6-figure companies, billion-dollar companies, how do you keep your mindset operating at, because those are huge wins, so how do you keep your mindset operating at, always getting better when you're getting these big wins now, and it's not necessarily just the tiny wins? So
that's an interesting question, because I don't know if I get necessarily better. I just I don't know if the word is cheat more, but I can cheat more, because like with a $1 billion company, it's easier to make money for them. So because they've already got a lot of money, they already have a big list, they already have a lot of data. So what I do, like the $1 billion company I was talking to is a company named Agora, and they have a bunch of different subsidiary branches and companies under them, like Money Map, a bunch of these other ones. But I wrote copy for some of their little branches and stuff. And one of the big benefits with them is that they can show you all of their like past winning promotions from like the last 30 days, the last 30 years. And so you don't have to worry. Like, I don't try and come up with some crazy new shit. I just look at what's been working and I model it, and then I try and change it, obviously, but I model what I think was the secret recipe that made it work. And then I just do that. So I may never have like a completely grand slam unique whatever it is, but that's okay, because my clients are still making money, and that's my focus. Is if they're investing money in me, my job is to try and make them more money than they invested in me, and ideally a lot more money. So instead of trying to be super creative, I just rather cheat and look at what's already worked and just try and do that maybe a little bit better.
Yep. Perfect. I like that. And that's that kind of that first and foremost, I've got to ask you before I move into the part that I want to move into. Tim Ferriss. Do you know the guy? Do you know of the guy?
Not personally, but yeah, the 4-Hour Work Week.
Yeah. This, so
I got the 4-Hour Chef right here, baby.
I got. So I have his the original one as well as the updated one of the 4-Hour Work Week. He signed it. Got to meet him in Charleston. It was pretty dope. Totally cool. Screwed up and never got back with him after he told me to, because I was too scared. This was like 10 years ago. Yeah, it was a while ago, so I kind of got that that shy rebuttal thing. But I just listening to you. You and I, it almost seems like we heard the same things at about the same times. So I just wanted to mention Tim's name and see what you said to see if it was not a.
His book is actually one of the reasons we started doing the website deal, because we were like, oh well, this guy says you can find people in India from I think it wasn't Upwork back then. It was like Odesk or some shit.
Yep.
But
yep.
We could find these folks in other countries to do something for like $100, and we resell for 500 or $1,000. That was like, that's why we started selling websites. It was actually from Tim Ferriss's book. We were like, yeah, let's just do that.
Yeah, no, it sounded like a blueprint, and that's why I mentioned, because as soon as you mentioned the guy in India doing the, the side work that came for the, what you closed on, I was like, absolutely, that's got to be where that came from. So it's just funny.
That was like good education, because then I realized that you can't just send it has nothing to do with India, but to anybody, you can't just say, hey, I need this stuff done, and then expect them to do it. You should clearly list out exactly what you need at every single step. Right. Otherwise, you can't even, in my opinion, you can't even be mad at them for messing up, because you just basically said, hey, here's the project, go run with it.
And you're dealing with language barrier, cultural barrier, absolutely. Everything that there can be, you're dealing with it. So as long as you're on point with that discussion, you can do better. So I know that I'm not sure if you got to listen to any of the episodes, but one of the things that we always try to get into before the end of the episode is our manifest moment. And basically what that is we give you the floor to put out into the universe whatever it is that you need, want, are working towards most at this moment, and just put it out into the universe. So what is it that you would like to manifest most at this point in time?
Oh, this is that's an interesting one. Okay, so this is anything, right? I mean, it's obviously going to be about business.
Anything,
but I mean,
it can be anything.
Okay. This is a very specific one. I'd like my lead cost on YouTube to go down from $13 down to like under $5. That would be my dream. If I can do that, that would be awesome. And one of the ways I'm trying to do that is by providing cool content like what we're doing right now, so that more people can share it, watch it. Eventually, hopefully, my lead cost goes down. If I can manifest anything, it would be that, because then my income would just continue to skyrocket. If nothing else changed and I just dropped from like $13 to $5, that would make a dramatic impact on my business.
I like it. I understand that too much, especially with our Google ads. Every time that I can drop it like 30 cents during the off season, especially, I'm like, we gotta win, because that just smooth sailing after that.
Oh, I would love that. If we can make that happen, let's make that happen.
There we go.
Awesome.
I like it.
Awesome. Good deal.
So how can other people, you got your team of copywriters. Oh, you look like you were froze for a second there. You're like,
oh no, that's just my face.
How can people get in touch with you about becoming to learn more about copywriting, or to become a copywriter, aside from buying your book?
So I think the best thing would be is if you go to a website called Try This Biz, B-I-Z, trythisbiz.com. You can go check out a little video I've got there, explains what we do in our mentorship program. And if you feel like it's a cool thing and you want to learn how to write copy, scale a 6-figure copywriting business, and do all that cool stuff from home, then you can book a call for free with me and my team, and we'll go over how it all works, see if it's a good fit for you. And if you remind my team and tell them that I said this, they'll also give you a free course valued at $97. That's a video training showing you exactly how we get our 15K and 25K clients. So if you decide to work with us, boom, we'll help you hands-on. If you decide not to work with us, no worries. You'll still get that cool course 100% free, and you can take advantage of it. So trythisbiz.com.
It's biz. All right. Well, Carlos, it has been a pleasure talking to you, learning a lot about copywriting and all that. That's awesome. So I appreciate you coming on and being our first video guest.
I appreciate you guys.
Thank you. So appreciate it.
Thank you,
TJ. Any final remarks from you?
I'm just hey, we run a parallel. I've been watching him for years. I'm appreciative that we got together and I got to take some more knowledge for free. That's what we talk about. But definitely in the future, I would love to have you on again, because I want to see how 2022 goes for you. But I appreciate you for being here, and
I love it.
Awesome.
It. Well, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate being on the show. And if anyone's interested in learning more, check out the website, hit me up, and I'm glad to help.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Carlos.
Absolutely. And
Thank you very much.
To all our listeners, if you want to be heard as always, or just drop your favorite podcast line, please feel free to email us at beyondintent@gmail.com. Other than that, be the champion you envision. Feel it, believe it, become it. We'll talk to you next time.